Welcome to this video on the dangerous myth of U.S. sponsorship and why paying for your own B-2 tourist trip is crucial for success. We will break down how consular officers actually evaluate your case, why using a U.S.-based sponsor can backfire, and how self-sponsorship signals stronger non-immigrant intent. Let's get started. First, the big idea. The B-2 tourist visa interview is a test of your intent. By law, the officer starts with the presumption that every applicant intends to immigrate. Your job is to overcome that presumption by showing strong ties to your home country. This sets the foundation for every decision you make about who should pay for the trip. Next, here is our roadmap. We will cover the myth versus reality of sponsorship, the power of self-sponsorship, how to structure joint sponsorship if necessary, strategies for family travel especially with retired parents, overcoming red flags and handling prior rejections, the exact documents and budget proof to prepare, and we will test your understanding with quick quizzes along the way. Now let's dismantle the sponsorship myth. Many applicants assume that having a high-earning U.S. relative pay for the trip guarantees approval. In reality, this can weaken your case because it emphasizes your connection to the United States rather than your ties to your home country. Officers ask themselves, if you cannot pay for a short trip yourself, how stable are your job and finances at home? The flowchart shows the logic. If you can fund most of the costs yourself, choose self-sponsorship. If you can fund a substantial portion but not all, consider a joint approach where you remain the primary payer. If you cannot fund it at all, that signals weak ties, and you should postpone while strengthening your home ties. Moving on. Let's compare self-sponsorship and U.S.-based sponsorship. Self-sponsorship signals financial independence, underscores your stable job and assets, and aligns directly with non-immigrant intent. It frames the trip as a routine, discretionary vacation. On the other hand, relying on a U.S.-based sponsor emphasizes your ties to the United States and can imply financial dependency or weaker stability at home. This shift in emphasis raises concerns for the officer and may lead to tougher scrutiny or refusals. Furthermore, here's how to structure self-sponsorship effectively. First, calculate a realistic budget in your local currency. Second, demonstrate sufficient liquid funds to cover it comfortably. Third, connect those funds to clear sources with salary slips, bank statements, and tax returns. Fourth, document your ties through employment verification, approved leave, and local assets. Fifth, if you are funding dependents, such as retired parents, show your full capacity to cover expenses. Sixth, avoid making your U.S. relative central to the financial story unless a small, well-documented top-up is necessary. Finally, practice concise, intention-focused interview answers. Next, here is a document map that ties each category to its purpose. Employment evidence, such as contracts and leave approvals, demonstrates career stability and a reason to return. Financial documents like bank statements and tax returns prove liquid funds and legitimate sources. Assets, such as property deeds, signal long-term local commitment. Family documents show responsibilities at home. An itemized budget proves the trip is planned and affordable. Prior travel history, if available, indicates compliant behavior on past trips. Continuing with family travel, designate the employed family member as the primary self-sponsor for everyone, especially for retired parents. Use the working member's income, savings, and assets to evidence capacity. If necessary, allow a small, well-documented contribution from a U.S. relative, but ensure the majority of funds originate in your home country. Clarify responsibilities in simple terms so the officer can see that the trip is discretionary, affordable, and consistent with strong local ties. Now, let's visualize a preparation timeline. At 12 weeks before the interview, audit your finances. At 10 weeks, gather bank statements, tax returns, and your employment letter. At 8 weeks, complete the DS-160. Around 6 weeks out, book your interview. 4 weeks before, practice concise, intent-focused answers. 2 weeks before, reconfirm your budget and documents. On interview day, present confidently. If refused, review the officer's concerns and plan tangible changes before reapplying. As we address red flags, if you lack travel history, consider building a record with regional or easier destinations first when feasible. If you have prior refusals, return with concrete changes such as promotions, salary increases, new assets, and a longer tenure. If your earlier application leaned on a U.S. sponsor, pivot to self-funding with clear evidence. Keep the itinerary simple and credible, but spend most of your effort demonstrating ties. Finally, bring relevant documents and answer questions directly and calmly. Quiz time. Which funding approach most strongly supports non-immigrant intent for a B2 visa? Option A. A high-income U.S. relative pays for everything. Option B. Self-sponsoring the trip from local income and savings. Option C. Waiting until airfare is cheaper. Option D. Asking your U.S. relative to write a long invitation letter. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B. Self-sponsoring from your local income and savings best demonstrates your stability and non-immigrant intent. It shifts the focus away from U.S. ties and toward your established life at home. Next quiz. After a prior B2 refusal, which change most persuasively strengthens a new application? Option A. A more detailed day-by-day itinerary. Option B. A longer invitation letter from your U.S. relative. Option C. A promotion with higher salary and new financial assets. Option D. Applying with a bigger tour group. You may pause the video now to consider your choice. We will discuss the answer in the next section. The correct answer is C. A promotion, higher salary, and new assets represent concrete, documented changes that strengthen your ties and capacity to self-fund. These are far more persuasive than longer invitation letters or larger tour groups. Now remember the 90-10 rule. Allocate 90% of your preparation to proving ties, job stability, assets, and family responsibilities. Allocate only 10% to the itinerary, keeping it clear and credible. Even if funds are tight, self-sponsorship typically communicates stronger non-immigrant intent than relying entirely on a U.S. sponsor. Additionally, here is a quick Markdown-style checklist you can copy into your prep notes. It highlights employment, finances, assets, family responsibilities, and a local currency budget. Include a reminder to keep your interview answers concise and focused on intent. This helps you rehearse efficiently. To wrap up, choose self-sponsorship as your default and reserve joint support for small top-ups. Prove ties through employment, assets, and family responsibilities. Build a realistic, local currency budget backed by liquid funds. For family travel with retired parents, the working member should be the primary payer. And after refusals, only reapply when you have documented material changes. Finally, follow the 90-10 rule. Emphasize ties far more than itinerary. Before we end, a quick disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Immigration rules and adjudication standards can change. For personalized guidance, consult official sources or a qualified immigration attorney. Finally, thank you for watching. If this video helped you, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell us in the comments how you plan to structure your self-sponsorship and what questions you want us to cover next.